Hi, my name is Gail Pearson. I'm a New Zealand trained anaesthetist, but my passion is health and wellness and providing alternative ways to age well. But firstly, I want to ask a question. How many people out there really consider themselves truly healthy? Now, most people consider themselves very healthy, but are you healthy in every single way? Are your blood tests and physical tests like blood pressure and weight normal, yet you're tired, have poor sleep, brain fog, and have no energy? What's going on? Are your cells, the building blocks of your body, healthy? We'll cover how to address these issues and how to achieve and maintain optimum health. Now, we're all aware of the aging processes I've shown here. And currently in New Zealand, women have a life expectancy of 84 years, men 82 years. But it's not about your lifespan, it's about your health span. Living your life doing the things you want to do for as long as you want to. And that's what we'll cover today, aging well and how science has caught up with the natural alternatives. To be truly healthy, you've first got to look at all of these three aspects of health, some of which we have control over and some of which we don't. We'll look at lifestyle, environment, and genetics. We need to eat healthy, non-processed food and not stress over fad diets. Exercise, we have to exercise or move at least the majority of days every week. We weren't programmed to sit all day, and recent research has shown that movement actually increases health span by stimulating what they call brain-derived neurotrophic factors and mitochondrial biogenesis, which we'll cover later. Another incredibly important aspect of our health is sleep. Lately, the research has shown that going to bed at a certain time and having about 8 hours sleep helps with cellular recovery, giving you more energy, more muscle, and less weight gain. With the environment around us, a lot of us feel a bit out of control, but we should be doing everything in our powers to make sure our environment is clean and as pure as possible. And we're also talking about the environment inside our houses. Open the windows to let the fresh air come through. Get outside and get exposed to the sun. Increase your vitamin D by having that skin exposed to sun. What are you putting on your body in terms of personal care products? Are they clean? The number of toxins that women put on their bodies daily is astounding. And these exposures are cumulative, and that means it's incredibly important when you're thinking about whether you're truly healthy in every single aspect. Is there a thing or two that you'd like to work on? What are those tiny little steps that are going to make a big difference and start to move those health measures back in the right direction, away from fragility and disease? Start small for big gains. Are you in control of your health span, or is it just like a poker game and you have to play the hand that you were dealt? The Blue Zone is a documentary that's about longevity, which is in several parts of the world. Now, it's a fascinating watch, so I highly recommend it. They came to the conclusion that there are 9 factors common to all of these people who had an increase in lifespan. They include having a community, and there's so much research around the health benefits of getting together with your friends, your family, and your loved ones, and just enjoying life, laughing, joking, talking, working through issues. It also includes mindfulness. Are you really present in your day-to-day activities? Are you present when you're eating your dinner with your family? Are you putting those phones away? Are you connecting with people? Have you got eye contact? Are you present when you're thinking about your food? Research has shown that to be really present with our food and thinking about what you're actually eating, you tend to eat less calories, you be healthier, and you're a healthier body weight. Some of the other factors that they found important were a sense of purpose, moving naturally, eating well 80% of the time, and red wine at 5. Now, can you control your genetics? A lot of people thought that you had no control over your genetics, and this is what we were given when we were born. You've heard the saying, can't do anything, it's in my family genes. Epigenetics is saying differently. You can't change your DNA sequence. Now, that's the instruction manual that lives inside the nucleus of everybody's cells, but you can change the way that the body reads the DNA or the way that it's expressed. You can change that by up to 90%. Now, some interesting research centered around nutrition has shown that utilizing nutrition, we can actually control whether or not genes are turned on or even turned off at times when we don't want them. these nutritional signals are actually working through the cell's communication network called cell signaling pathways. So actually flip the switches and activate this very important class of genes. And the genes are called adaptive genes, anti-stress genes, or survival genes. And you can see by the names themselves how important they are. So can we apply this notion of nutrigenomics to human nutrition? Now, the easiest way to talk about it is through the theories of aging. The oxidative stress theory of aging has probably been around the longest, and it's been studied the most. And then there's a second theory called the mitochondrial theory of aging. And then there's a relatively new theory of aging that centers around the molecule NAD and a family of proteins called the sirtuins. There are health benefits associated with each of these approaches, like cellular protection, providing energy, and vitality. So let's first of all look at the oxidative stress theory of aging. It states that we're constantly exposed to oxygen-free radicals, and these free radicals can go on to have very dire consequences to the cell. They damage cells. So what we want to do is to keep our oxidative or free radical load in balance. And as we age, our body produces less and less antioxidants, which tips the balance even more. Now, oxidative stress is the cause of most of our modern ills these days. And because it affects every single organ of the body, I challenge you just to Google oxidative stress in any medical condition, and you'll see how many results actually come up. We do need some oxidative stress. We don't want to shut it off completely, but what we need to do is to keep it in check or in balance. Now, most people understand the importance of antioxidants and take them. But what if you could make your own antioxidants by switching on the system that's already there to produce your own glutathione, to produce your own catalase, to produce your own superoxide dismutase? They are all antioxidant enzymes that you produce naturally in your body. There's this beautiful system called the NRF2. It's a little protein that lives inside the cells. It's a sensor molecule, and it's waiting to come into contact with either a free radical or even a toxin. Then it gets activated, it goes to the nucleus and literally flips the switches on for the survival and protection genes, including antioxidant enzyme production. This is a little bit of a simplified, complicated yet simplified diagram of actually how it works within the cell. Now we can use a number of nutrients shown in the left column to see if the NRF2 pathway is switched on to experience health benefits shown on the right. So these nutrients have been around for a long time: milk thistle, bacopa, ashwagandha, green tea, turmeric. They switch on the NRF2 pathway in the appropriate doses to give you benefits like detoxification, reducing oxidative stress, reducing cellular stress, neutralizing free radicals, helps regulate the survival genes, and helps the body repair and rejuvenate its own cells. Now, NRF2 controls between 200 to 300 different genes. So let's have a look at a couple of them and to see what it does. The first one is the NQO1 gene, and that's an antioxidant or a detoxification gene. When we stimulate that pathway, you can see that we have a 40% increase in that gene. And then on the right, we have the HMOX1 gene, responsible for the healthy inflammatory response, and that increases by 50%. So that's a reduction in oxidative stress and a reduction on its effects on the body. Now, I have to stress that this NRF2 has a natural feedback mechanism as the nutrients are natural. Food and nutrients are medicine, and we're slowly validating this scientifically. They have made artificial or chemically derived NRF2 stimulators, but they don't have that natural feedback mechanism, and so they overstimulate the NRF2 pathway, and they have many side effects. So I do not recommend them at all. Now, there's another theory of aging that's very similar to the free radical oxidative stress theory, and that's called the mitochondrial theory of aging. Here's just a simplified version of this complex pathway. Now, that theory states that as we get older, the mitochondria don't work as efficiently as they used to. And if you're not familiar with what the mitochondria are, they're like little batteries inside our cells, and they're responsible for almost all of the energy that our body needs to function every single second of the day. In fact, if you were to shut off mitochondrial function, you'd be dead in a matter of seconds. And the organs that require the most energy, like the brain and the heart, have the most mitochondria, thousands per cell. Now, as these mitochondria age, they start to produce more free radicals. Actually, even the healthiest of mitochondria produce a small quantity of free radicals. But as we get older, this gets exacerbated and goes on to continue to damage the mitochondria. So those mitochondria become less efficient, they create more free radicals, and we get this downward spiral effect of cell damage. What we want to do is to provide nutrients to not only support overall mitochondrial function, but trigger another cell signal pathway to help those mitochondria turn over, connect better, and remove the old or damaged mitochondria from the cell, and we put new ones in its place. It's called mitochondrial biogenesis, which I referred to previously, and gives more energy. And cellular energy is what we call ATP. That's the energy currency that we have in our cells. Now, a major protein that controls this is called NRF1. And when we look at the different inputs or the nutrients on the left, we know we want to utilize those to activate the NRF1 pathway. And if we do, we get a number of health benefits that relate to energy production, improved performance, enhances cellular health, increases ATP. So just in 24 hours with simple nutritional interventions like combinations of CoQ10, alpha-lipoic acid, and quercetin, we can increase the activity of these NRF1 genes by 61% and 69%. So that's clear proof that we can actually utilize nutrition to turn on these very important genes via this NRF1 pathway. And the last one in the theory of aging is NAD. Now, it's a relatively new theory of aging, and it's centered around an interesting concept that is related to energy production. Now, energy requires us to metabolize food, and that happens in the mitochondria, so you can see how everything is linked. Now, when food gets into our mitochondria, the mitochondria break down the bonds in the food and release electrons. When they do, what they do is electrons are captured on a molecule called NAD. We can also influence NAD by fasting and caloric restriction. So how do they work at a cellular level? Well, caloric restriction is when if we reduce our calorie intake by 40 to 60%, which is a lot, we can actually increase lifespan and Healthspan by stimulating specific proteins called sirtuins. So you can see the connection here. Caloric restriction, NAD, sirtuins, healthy longevity. So we can test the efficacy of various nutritional inputs on the left as they relate to the NAD pathway, and we can experience a lot of different health benefits. And we want to do this by centering around the body's ability to produce its own NAD. In fact, you can't take enough NAD from the diet and appreciably increase your levels of NAD. If we want to increase the body's production or ability to make NAD, we come back to caloric restriction. Now, studies and researchers identified this family of proteins known as sirtuins, another complicated family of proteins. They require the molecule NAD that's normally found in the mitochondria and responsible for energy production. And what they found was, as you're calorie restricting, there's less food around to metabolize, and so your levels of NAD actually increase. And when all those levels of NAD increase, it becomes a signal molecule to trigger the activity of the sirtuins. So a bit of a circle. All of these health benefits around NAD and an increase in the activity of these proteins called sirtuins is related to our feeling of overall vitality and well-being. Now, there are two enzymes that I've illustrated here that are absolutely essential to make NAD in your cells. Can we increase these using nutritional substances? How much sirtuin activity can be upregulated by caloric restriction? We can see that these enzymes are upregulated as much as 94% with caloric restriction. And when we looked at specific nutrients, we found that the increase of the activity of those family of proteins was 100%, which even rivals caloric restriction. So it's using caloric restriction without restricting your calories. I've also had some people who have combined this nutritional NAD activator with caloric restriction or fasting, and they've had incredible results, quite different to how they did it when they just were fasting alone. No headaches, faster weight loss, feeling better, getting through the fast much, much easier. So by increasing that activity of that really important family of proteins, we increase brain mental focus, we increase concentration, positive mood and motivation. And all of these are physical and mental energy, which helps the body promote a healthy inflammatory response. We maintain cholesterol levels already in the normal range, a healthy cardiovascular system. So a lot of benefits by activating this protein, this family of proteins called sirtuins. But when you look at the synergy, when you put all three of these nutritional combos together, affecting the pathways of NRF2, NRF1, and NAD, we found that the combo of the three together was much more effective than the individual pathways. The NRF2 genes are increased, 82% for the detoxification gene. Inflammatory gene increased by 1,500%. The NRF1 genes increased by 39%. The mitochondrial biogenesis genes increased by 71%. And most importantly, the NAD genes, and this is for production of NAD, with using all three, increased by 900% and 1,900%. So this is exactly how we can utilize nutrigenomics to help your health go into the right direction. And so we use nutrients to help activate and flip the switches on the genes to help further protect you. They help promote energy production and help with the feeling of vitality. So it's not just supplementation, it's activation of your own genes. So when we come back to the Healthspan slide again, I'm sure you'll agree that you can control your lifestyle, and we've all heard the expression, you are what you eat, but also you're also a product of your exposures. So a healthy environment is also incredibly important. And then lastly, the genetic sequence that we have inside of our cells is not that poker hand that we were dealt. At last, science is catching up to the wisdom of natural substances that have been around for thousands of years. Food is medicine. Now, it's important to note that reigniting your cellular pathways takes time. You don't go to the gym once or twice and expect to be toned and muscled. You don't eat healthy for a month, then stop. These are lifestyle changes that will increase your health span. I hope I've shown you that you can also affect your health span through nutritional interventions. You are actually a product of what your genes express. You are in control of your health span. Die old as young as you can. And if you'd like any more information or to contact me, my website is www.newlight.earth. Thanks very much. And here's to a healthy life.